What's going on, everyone? Welcome into the Chiefs Zone podcast. My name is Farzin Vasugian. Happy Tuesday to all of you. Happy September. We are in September. You know what that means. The NFL season is here. Hope you guys all had a great Labor Day holiday weekend. That is now in the rear view mirror, and now we are looking ahead, moving forward to the NFL season. The 2025 NFL season is finally here. Let's go, baby. Let's get that going. We are finally here. The NFL season, we've been waiting for so long. A lot of talk in the offseason, especially with Kansas City trying to recover from Super Bowl 59. And now we are in a position now where we're going to have our first game breakdown. That'll take place tomorrow night on Wednesday. Of course, that'll be exactly 24 hours from now, so make sure you guys join me for that. And it'll be everywhere: Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram. And I appreciate all of you guys who've been watching on all the live streams. That's been great for the content, the social media. I mentioned this on Facebook earlier. I appreciate everyone that's been posting, sharing, viewing. We have had nearly 8 million views and almost 1,500 new followers just on the Facebook page in the last 2 days, Sunday and Monday, over the holiday weekend. That's awesome. Props to you guys. Let's go. And we're just getting started, man. You guys all know how this all works. We're just starting to cook things up here. So we're going to have a lot of fun this year. You guys all know the drill. So I'm excited. I see you guys in the chat. You guys all showing your excitement. I appreciate you guys as well. Interact with me as we go on throughout the night here, because we've got a lot of things to go over. We are going to break down the Kansas City Chiefs 2025 team. We'll preview the season for the Chiefs. I'll give you guys my prediction for the Chiefs schedule. I'll also give you my NFL 2025 predictions, including the standings for all 32 teams, the playoff bracket for all 14 teams, and also my prediction for the 2025 NFL awards. All of that and more here on this episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. Want to let you know this podcast is brought to you by the Duran Cherry Game Day Give Back Watch Party. That'll take place this Friday, September the 5th, 6 p.m. Doors open at Holiday Distillery in Western Missouri. If you guys don't have any plans, if you're not going to Brazil for the game between the Chiefs and the Chargers, hey, why not go to Holiday Distillery, rub some elbows with some former Chiefs, including Chiefs Hall of Famer Duran Cherry. He is going to be out there hosting this, and he'll be there with some of his fellow former Chiefs, as well as they'll be watching the game. You can interact with them, have some drinks, have some good food at Holiday Distillery. I just commented below with the link to the website where you can buy your tickets. All of it goes to a great cause. And of course, don't forget, later this month, the Duran Cherry Foundation will have their celebrity tailgate, and that is where you'll be able to rub elbows with even more former Chiefs. And they'll have that auction that it's quite an event. It really is. So if you haven't done so already, go check out the link if you guys are interested in buying tickets for the watch party hosted by Chiefs Hall of Famer Duran Cherry and the Duran Cherry Foundation. It's going to be a good time. You don't want to miss it. If you don't have any plans for the game this Friday, hey, there's an idea for you. Make a little bit of a trip over to Weston, Missouri, and watch some Chiefs football with some former Chiefs players. All right. We got a lot of things to talk about here tonight. Quick reminder for what's coming up this week. Tomorrow, of course, we will have the Chiefs Zone podcast. It'll be the final podcast of the week because the Chiefs play on a Friday. We will break down the game exactly 24 hours from now between the Chiefs and the Chargers. If you miss it, it'll be available on Facebook and YouTube and X. They'll be archived on there. It won't be archived on Instagram, just a heads up there for those who watch through Instagram. But it'll be available on those three social media platforms: Apple, Spotify, anywhere where you can download and listen to a podcast. They'll be available on those platforms as well. So if you guys didn't get a chance to watch live tomorrow night, hey, that's okay. You'll have plenty of chances to watch or listen, however you guys choose to take in the podcast. The final podcast of the week, as we break down the game between the Chiefs and the Chargers. I'll give you my first score prediction for the Chiefs this year, and that'll take place tomorrow night. And then, of course, Friday, the day of the game, 4 hours before kickoff. And I believe the Chiefs kickoff is scheduled for 7:20. So 4 hours before every game this year, we will have a pregame live chat. Then at halftime, we'll have a quick halftime live stream. And then after every single game, we will do a post-game podcast recapping the Chiefs game. Hopefully, we'll be recapping a lot of Chiefs victories this year like we have in years past. So, and we'll also have the link for you guys to call in. I know a lot of you guys choose to call in after games, and that's what we'll continue to do this year like we have in years past. You guys can call in after the game, almost like a radio show. You can call in, and we'll chat it up, have some fun afterwards, recapping Chiefs games this year. So that is coming your way this week on the Chiefs Zone podcast, and also wherever all these live streams will be. Okay, let's get right into it here. I know we did the roster breakdown last podcast, so I don't want to go over it too much right now. What I do want to say, and I'll just do a quick overview here. The Chiefs, of course, offensively, that's the one where we have a lot of questions. The running back room, how is that going to look? Is Pacheco going to revert back to how he looked a couple of years ago? Is Kareem Hunt going to be what he once was? Or is he going to be a key contributor? Is this going to be a running back by committee? How is this running back room going to look with Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, Elijah Mitchell, rookie Brashard Smith, who's been getting a little bit of hype in the national media? And then you look at the rest of the offense. The offensive line is getting a lot of conversation this year with rookie Josh Simmons coming in, Kingsley Suamataia shifting from left tackle to left guard. Of course, the Chiefs extended Creed Humphrey about a year ago this time. Trey Smith right before training camp. Jawan Taylor, is he going to be able to show any improvement? And then the wide receiver room. That's the one that a lot of people are intrigued with the most, that position group right there. A position group that was a major weakness 2 years ago. And last year it had its woes, not because of the drops from 2 years ago, but more so with the injuries. And now there's so much depth. There's so much speed. And that's what we said a year ago this time as well. But unfortunately, we saw the Hollywood Brown injury, and then we later learned that he was going to be sidelined for a much longer period of time than we would have thought. Juju Smith-Schuster, it seems like he's going to maybe have a little bit of a bigger role, especially with Rashee Rice serving the first 6 games, being suspended for the first 6 games. A lot of people are really curious to see Tyquan Thornton and what he's going to do. We saw that nice 58-yard pass from Mahomes in the preseason. We saw a lot of that in training camp as well. Can he carry that over to the regular season? This week, this Friday in Brazil, we'll get that first test from him. Jason Brownlee, a part of this depth as well. Jalen Royals, it appears he is not expected to play this Friday due to a knee injury. But Andy Reid kind of hinted that they'd be rushing it if they really did make him play on Friday. So it seems like there's an opportunity that he will play at some point in the early goings of the season. Week 2 or 3 maybe is when he could make his NFL debut. But it appears Royals, it's not officially yet, but it appears to be 99% certain that Royals is not going to make his debut on Friday. And then the tight ends real quickly. Obviously the Chiefs with Travis Kelce leading that position group. Noah Gray, who's continuing to grow more and more each year. Last year, of course, was the biggest year for him so far in his career. Jared Wiley coming back from injury. Big Bob, who had a pretty good preseason for the team, was on the practice squad and then eventually elevated to the 53-man practice squad. So that is your offense in a nutshell right there. When you switch to the defensive side of the football, the defense has been really good the last 2 years and gradually took a step back last year. And people are wondering what this defense is going to look like this year. I think there were some concerns if you're judging off preseason games, which it's okay to judge partially from preseason games, but if you're putting a lot of stock in that, might be setting yourself up for disappointment if you're betting on that kind of prediction. The way I see it right now, with Karlaftis, Chris Jones, 2 great players on that defensive line. You also have Mike Dana. You have Charles Omenihu. You drafted Ashton Gelati. You drafted Omar Norman-Lott. Jerry Tillery is the guy you brought in. The Derek Nottie one, I think people were excited when the Chiefs traded for him because he is an underrated run stopper. But people weren't expecting it to be at the expense of Mike Pennell. who just signed with the Cincinnati Bengals practice squad. And here's what I will say, because like a lot of you guys, I was kind of puzzled. Really, Mike Pennell? Because I've said this many times. When you watch the defensive line drills in training camp, and I went to more than half the practices in St. Joe, the first three guys, in no particular order, you would see Chris Jones, George Karlaftis, and Mike Pennell. Those were always the first three guys when you saw the defensive linemen get in line and do the individual drills there, individual and duo drills, that kind of stuff with the entire position group. But the fact that he's not on any 53-man roster and went to the practice squad of a defense that really is in desperate need of help right now, I don't know. Maybe Brett Veach knew what he was doing. I've always said, listen, the Chiefs have been to what, 7 straight AFC title games, 5 Super Bowls during this span. I'm not going to question. I may disagree with some of the things they do, but I'm not going to sit here and question and doubt their intelligence with these roster moves here. And again, no one ever gets it right. No one ever does it right 100% of the time. No. But maybe they knew something. Maybe they saw something in camp or in practice that none of us saw. I don't know. But Mike Pennell, not on a 53-man roster as of right now. Went to one of the worst defenses you could go to in Cincinnati on their practice squad. But how is that defensive line going to look? Can they get to the quarterback more? Can they try to raise that sack total again? And obviously they'll have the linebacker and defensive back blitzes like they always do. Spags runs that nickel and dime defense more than any other defense in the league. So how are they going to look when they're on the field? I'm intrigued to see that. And you've got a good first test. And I know Rashawn Slater suffered a really devastating injury. And we'll get into that more tomorrow. But Kansas City's defense, they've got an opportunity to go out there and set the tone tomorrow, Friday rather, and get off to a good start and try to, like I said, set the tone and have a really good season defensively. When you look at the linebackers, this is a very strong position group led by Nick Bolton and Drew Tranquill, who does a lot of things that don't show up on the stat sheet. Leo Chenal, who I think is a really underrated linebacker and someone that I think can play edge rusher if he wanted to. He's got the size for it. He's got the mentality for it. He's got the physical tenacity to do it as well. And I think someone that he's someone that the Chiefs are going to use more when it comes to linebacker blitzes, because I really do think that's where he'll definitely thrive and help this defense out. You have Cooper McDonald, who had a really good training camp and a good preseason. Jeffrey Bossa also showed out and had some flashes in the preseason, who they drafted in the 5th round out of Oregon, former, I think, Cotton Bowl MVP, or one of the bowl game, one of the significant bowl games where he won defensive MVP. So I'm curious to see how this linebacker group comes together in 2025 after having a really good showing the last couple of years, really with the same starters. Willie Gay, yeah, he left, but I feel like Leo Chenal has done a really good job filling in for Willie Gay, or replacing him, rather, I should say, since Gay's departure from the team. Then you look at the secondary. Let's start with the safeties. You have Jaden Hicks, you have Brian Cook, you have Shamari Connor. Christian Roland Wallace is expected to play some safety and some cornerback as well, kind of like what Shamari Connor did last year for the Chiefs. Then you look at the cornerback position. Obviously, Trent McDuffie, one of the best in the NFL. Christian Fulton spent a lot of time on the PUP, was unable to practice and play in preseason games, and you certainly saw that in the game against Chicago, where he definitely looked like he was gassed. Then you have Jalen Watson, who missed some time last year due to an injury. People thought it was a season-ending injury, but he was able to come back, and Kansas City's defense was able to get some sacks in the playoffs, able to get to the quarterback more often. And I think having Jalen Watson back there in coverage certainly helped. The Chiefs had a lot of pressures on quarterbacks last year. The problem is they were always just a tad second late, and a lot of quarterbacks would find open receivers. You saw that in the game. The one that really sticks out, the most is the game against the Carolina Panthers. Bryce Young dealt with defenders in his face all game long, but at the very last second, he would always get the ball out and find that open receiver. And that was a game where Jalen Watson was unable to play because of the injury. So how is that going to look for Kansas City when they have hopefully a healthy secondary this year? And like I said, I think the additions of Ashton Gelati and Omar Norman-Lott through the draft, that is going to help this Chiefs defense, specifically the defensive line, the depth there, and be able to win more one-on-one battles, especially with Omar Norman-Lott. The one thing he had last year in college football among all defensive tackles, he had the best pass rush win rate of any defensive tackle in college football last year. Ashton Gelati was like 5th or 6th in quarterback pressures last year. That's what this team needs. And Charles Omenihu, he has not played a week 1 game since he joined the Kansas City Chiefs. He was suspended for a few games in 2023. Last year, he started the season on IR because of the injury he suffered in the AFC Championship game in Baltimore. So this is going to be Charles Omenihu's first week 1 game. And I feel like Omenihu, if he plays a full season, if he plays 15, 16, 17 games, that's a guy whose sack total can certainly be very high. And I think Kansas City would certainly benefit from that. And I'm trying to pull up his stats from 2023 because he played 7 games, or he missed 7 games, excuse me. Played let's see if I can pull that up. Yeah, played in 11 games. And he had 7 sacks. You play a full season if you're Charles Omenihu and you end up having double-digit sacks. When you look at Omenihu last year, I think he played 6 games in the regular season. He had just 1 sack, and that was against Cleveland. That was where Kansas City just basically had a party that day. And by the way, Omenihu had a forced fumble in that one as well. Omenihu in the divisional round, he had a sack strip on CJ Stroud. If you remember in the AFC Championship game, the game he got injured against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, he had a strip sack in that game as well. Now, unfortunately, Kansas City, if I recall correctly, they returned the favor with a turnover of their own. But Omenihu will come through for you when you really need it the most. And I think having him healthy this time, not dealing with a suspension, able to come into OTAs, training camp, the preseason, get through all of that and be available for week 1, I think that's going to make a difference. I know Mike Dana is listed as your starter, but I truly do believe that Omenihu is going to play a lot more this year than he has the last 2 years. If he stays healthy, that would be that'd be pretty significant for Kansas City's defense. And I think that'll make a big difference. And I think that's something Kansas City missed last year when they had a drop-off of 18 fewer sacks than the year before. Remember, they had 57 in 2023. That was the second most in the league. And then in last season, they had 18 fewer sacks, and they ranked 18th in sacks, going from 2nd to 18th. Can they get back into the top 10 or the top 5? I think they can be a top 10 defense in terms of collecting sacks. And another thing to keep in mind about this defense, they have not allowed a running back to rush for 100 yards in 26 consecutive games, playoffs included. The only 100-yard rusher against the Chiefs during that span is Lamar Jackson. That's a huge deal. Now, there have been a couple of teams collectively as a unit that have ran well against the Chiefs a couple of times, but not one individual, not at the running back position, has been able to run for 100 yards. Only Lamar Jackson has. And, okay, make up the jokes. He's a running back, whatever. But I think this is going to be a better defense this year. Special teams. Let's get into that one, because I do think this is going to be a better year for the Chiefs special teams wise. Obviously, you've got Harrison Butker, who missed some time last year due to injuries. You have I'm looking at the wrong place here. I'm looking at the practice squad for a second. Sorry. The punter, obviously, Matt Ariza, and long snapper James Winchester, who is just as good as any long snapper in the league. The return specialist, Nico Remigio is your main guy. Now, Dave Tobe mentioned that Brashard Smith, Tyquan Thornton, and there was another player. It's not Xavier Worthy. Somebody else he mentioned is expected to be involved in return duties. Remigio, obviously, number one. Thornton, two. Brashard's another guy. Maybe Brownlee or Royals. I can't remember the other guy he mentioned. But going back to Remigio, I remember about a year and a half ago in the 2024 offseason during OTAs, Andy Reid and Dave Tobe the same week had a lot of good things to say about Nico Remigio. They were giving him high praise. And at the time, I didn't see why. Now I see why. Now I see that this is a returner who the coaches really like. And we didn't see why in the regular season last year, but in the playoffs, he had that big, I think it was a 67-yard kick return to open up the game against the Houston Texans in the divisional round. And then the AFC Championship game, he had a 41-yard punt return, and that set up a quick 6-play touchdown drive by the Chiefs offense. So Remigio's done some good things on special teams, more so in the playoffs last year. Can we see that consistently throughout a season? And one prediction I'll make right now, I think Nico Remigio will get either a kick return or a punt return touchdown this year for the Chiefs. I don't know exactly when, but I think he's going to have at least one this year. Don't be surprised if he has a punt return and a kick return touchdown different points this year. I think that's how good Nico Remigio is. And I know we're not seeing a lot of the flashy returners like Devin Hester, Dante Hall. We're not seeing that those kinds of returners like we used to. And I'm not suggesting Remigio is going to be anywhere near that kind of success with those guys had, but I think Remigio will be one of the better returners this season. The return position has changed a lot over the years, and I think because of the rules on kick returns, all that's played a hand as well. But Remigio will be one of the better returners this season for Kansas City. Let me quickly read some comments here before we move on. Robert says, what are your thoughts on Hollywood stepping up these first 6 weeks? Yeah, look, we didn't get a chance to see Hollywood Brown last year show off what he can do. He's a really good wide receiver, but he's had a career that's been derailed with injuries. There's a reason why Kansas City took a risk in bringing him back for another year. It's worth the risk for the team to bring him back in this style of offense. And I think for him, it's worth it to come back to Kansas City because this is an offense that is very well suited for him. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes. You've got Xavier Worthy who can take some attention off of you. You've got Rashee Rice when he comes back, and hopefully everyone can stay healthy because this is where it'll really start to show. And this is something we've been waiting to see for more than a year now. This has been advertised for a long time. What is the offense going to look like when you have Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown, and Xavier Worthy on the field at the same time? Oh, by the way, Travis Kelce also on the field. That's going to make things interesting. I said this last offseason when the Chiefs drafted Worthy. That 11 personnel set of your three receivers being Worthy, Rice, and Hollywood, and Travis Kelce as your tight end, that's going to really open things up for your running backs. Whether it's Isaiah Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, Brashard Smith, like whoever's lined up next to Mahomes in the backfield there. Because you can't double team Kelce, Rice, Hollywood, and Worthy. You just don't have the personnel to double team that many players. So you have to start showing some respect. You have to have some one-on-ones and kind of decide who you want to double team of those four pass catchers I mentioned. Because when you do that, the defense is going to be spread out more. And I would be curious to see if the Chiefs would audible a lot more to running plays to where Isaiah Pacheco or Kareem Hunt or whoever that's when they kind of just take advantage, and they've got a little bit of an empty box there if their offensive line can get a nice push. This is what I predicted last year. More so, obviously, Hunt was not on the team at the time, but Pacheco obviously was, and that's who I thought would have had a much better season. And again, obviously last year, things did not go as advertised or planned at all because of the injuries. And you mentioned Hollywood and what he's going to do in these 6 games. Listen, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, because I know a lot of people are talking about Rice missing these 6 games. You have the players to still have some success. I'm not saying you don't need Rice, because you need him. But last year when Rice was hurt and missed all those games after the injury he suffered early in the week 4 game, what happened? This team only lost 2 games. One was to Buffalo, and the other one was in the Super Bowl to Philly. You can't really count that the Broncos game, because that's not, the Chiefs put all their backups in there for a reason. Any starter who did play only played a drive or 2. I think you only saw a couple starters from the secondary who played all the way to the end. There was a reason for that. No need to risk injuries when you're locked into the number 1 seed or any other seed, which we've seen the Chiefs being locked into the 3 seed, the 4 seed, the 5 seed in years past, and they did not have anything to play for in the week 17 or 18 games. So really, the Chiefs only lost 2 games without Rashee Rice. Now, one of them happened to just be the most important game of the year, the Super Bowl, but still, you reach the Super Bowl without him. And again, I want to be very clear. I'm not suggesting you don't need Rashee Rice. You absolutely need him. But what I'm saying is, even with that difficult schedule, the first 6 weeks, the Chiefs are going to manage just fine. Like, if Rice was your primary wide receiver and you just had all scrubs behind him, I'd be like, yeah, we've got some issues here. We've got some serious concerns. But that's not at all what the wide receiver room looks like. You've got Xavier Worthy. You've got Hollywood Brown. You've got Travis Kelce at the tight end position. I think Noah Gray is going to get more attention during these first 6 weeks as well. The one player, and I know Thornton and Royals, 2 young guys who are going to get some looks this year as well. But I'm just letting you know right now, watch out for Juju Smith-Schuster. I know he's not the receiver he once was, but this is someone who a couple of years ago, when he was in this offense after Tyreek Hill got traded, took him a while, but he really quickly, I shouldn't say quickly, but he gradually did pick up the offense and start to play better at the midway point. Unfortunately, he had a concussion, and that sidelined him for a few games and kind of slowed down his progress. But once he picks up this offense, he can really come through for you. And I know people, I get some comments even from Chiefs fans. Oh, Juju is washed up and too slow. Is he really? Because I don't think the Buffalo Bills had that memo about Juju. Juju had a couple of key catches in that AFC Championship game. The New Orleans defense, they let him have 100 and some yards, 20 or 30 yards receiving in that game. And that was when Kansas City was really down with their wide receivers. And I know Juju also got hurt and missed a little bit of time last year as well. And listen, I think this is why you have the depth you have. You knew there was a suspension coming for Rice. You know an injury is going to occur. Right now, you have one with Jalen Royals. It appears to be minor, but you have it for right now. This is why you need depth at the wide receiver position. Look, guys, I hate to tell you this, but this is a very physical sport where injuries happen. And it's important to have good depth on a football team. Some teams don't do a good job of this. Some teams do. And I feel like Brett Veach, in my opinion, why he's the best GM in football is he's done a good job of providing better depth. I think he's done a good job with that with the offensive line and also with the wide receiver position. The 2 position groups that the offense has really struggled with the last 2 years. How are they going to look this year? You're healthier. Rice, yeah, that's a big omission right now. But, man, this is a team that's supposed to look good, and I think Hollywood is going to have a hand in that. I'm just praying to the football gods. Stay healthy, specifically Worthy, and Hollywood, and Kelsey as well, because I really need to see that combination of the wide receiver trio, Rice, Worthy, and Hollywood, and also Kelsey at tight end. Because if you have those four guys on the field, it's going to be a fun time. Patrick Mahomes is going to cook with that offense. And again, don't forget, you have Jalen Royals, Tyquan Thornton, Juju Smith-Schuster, part of this depth as well. So I'm eager to see how this wide receiver room looks in that first game, even without Rashee Rice. I'm excited to see how that is, especially Xavier Worthy. This is my last comment on the wide receiver room, and we'll move on. We saw Rice, what he did in his first game last year. Dude looked like a completely different receiver. He didn't even look like someone who was coming off a rookie season. That is how much growth he had last offseason. What about Xavier Worthy? Can he kind of follow Rashee Rice's footsteps and have that giant leap from year 1 to year 2? Well, Rice is not going to be on the field for that game. So Worthy has a chance to prove that he can make that big jump, because Worthy and Rice had very similar numbers throughout their rookie campaigns when you compared the two and how they did their rookie seasons. So can that comparison be followed up? I'm very curious to see how that goes. Jeremy says, look for Xavier to be the guy before Rice comes back. Listen, I think even when Rice comes back, if you've got Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice on the field at the same time, that is going to be a really, I don't want to be the defensive coordinator that has to prepare for this, because then you have a lot of people on defense, all the attention going to be attracted to those two guys. That's going to open things up for Kelsey. That's going to open things up for Hollywood, Noah Gray, Thornton, everyone else. And again, I know with Brashard Smith, that dude's fast. It was the third fastest running back at the scouting combine this year. So we know he can do some things. Keep in mind with the Chiefs, look at some of the speed they have on this offense. They've got Tyquan Thornton. He had the fastest 40 time of any offensive player in the 2022 draft. Also from the 2022 draft, Isaiah Pacheco was tied for fastest 40 time among running backs. And you also have Brashard Smith, who had the third fastest 40 time among running backs this year. And Rice looked faster last season before the injury. Hollywood Brown obviously possesses that great speed. Jalen Royals, he's got a little bit of speed in him. Not as fast as some of the other guys we've been talking about, but that dude can certainly make a defense pay if they give him all that real estate. This is going to be a fun offense to watch if everyone stays healthy. And if that offensive line blocks, Mahomes is going to have a really good season. I bet on him to win MVP this year. I said this a while ago because, when Mahomes first got started, we saw the great pass protection in 2018 and 2019. This was when you still had Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz. And I said this at the time. I said, look, there's going to be a day where Mahomes will be without Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Obviously, Tyreek Hill's moved on. Travis Kelce still on the team, but we're anticipating that he's going to have his last season either this year or, one of the upcoming seasons very soon. We're anticipating a Travis Kelce retirement within the next couple of years is what I'm trying to say. But as long as Patrick Mahomes has the pass protection and he's not throwing to scrubs like Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore, Patrick Mahomes is going to be just fine and successful. And Veach is going to make sure that the wide receiver depth is going to be better than a Sky Moore or a Kadarius Toney. They've certainly learned their lessons from that. But Veach is always going to bring that speed to this offense because that is what's helped this team offensively over the years. Whether it's throwing it deep down the field or taking advantage of a wide open receiver on a medium route and having all of that open space right there, that's how this offense dominates. And I think you'll see a lot of that this season. Noah says, I bet Royals will be the best-selling Chiefs jersey this year. If he was wearing 85, probably. But listen, I know a lot of Chiefs fans were upset about that. And with all due respect to the Kansas City Royals, I don't know. I mean, Jalen Royals, um, these guys always have a significance with their numbers. I mean, they just do. They all do. Even at the pro level, they want a specific number. I remember, me personally, whenever I was playing sports, I always wanted a specific number. So maybe the number 11 means a lot more to him than 85 does. Yeah, Juju and open space, Robert. That's an interesting point there. He's still got the speed. Now he's not Tyreek Hill or Xavier Worthy fast, but that dude can do some damage for sure. So I'd be very interested to see how he does this year, especially if other receivers are attracting attention. Because think back to when Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce were on the team. There were some games where both Hill and Kelce were great statistically. But then there were also games where Kelce was kind of quiet, but Tyreek Hill went off and had a big day, and vice versa. Then there were some games where both Kelce and Hill were kind of quiet, but that opened up the door for Sammy Watkins, Demarcus Robinson, Byron Pringle, McCole Hardman. I think we're going to go back to that style of offense. I think last year I did predict that the Chiefs offense would be very similar to 2018, which was the third highest scoring output of any offense in NFL history, behind the 2013 Broncos and the 2007 Patriots. But this offseason, I've said that I think this Chiefs team will be more similar to 2022 than 2018. Now, in 22, that's when Mahomes won MVP, regular season, and Super Bowl MVP. And he also broke the record for total yards, passing and rushing in a single season. So is that something that Mahomes can revert back to with a better offensive line and all the speed around you? That, again, I think that's what has a lot of Chiefs fans excited, is having that depth on your football team. Jeremy says, you block for Pat, hell, take me and you and Jim Ford to the Super Bowl. Jim Ford, you're responding to another commenter on here. Yeah. Yeah, and the connection with Worthy and Mahomes last year kind of got off to a shaky start, especially near the sidelines with a lot of those catches, as you pointed out, Jeremy. But I think they've got a better understanding of each other now to be able to make that happen. So how do I think the games are going to go this year, week by week, for the Kansas City Chiefs? I think they start 5-1 without Rashee Rice. Then you've got the Raiders at home. Buffalo, I mean, look, that is Buffalo's annual Super Bowl, so we'll give them that one right there. But I can see coming off the bye week, I don't know if Kansas City would lose another game. I think Kansas City is going to be in a spot where, coming off the bye, they'll be able to go off. Now, that week 18 game against the Raiders, originally I had it as a loss. But as I went through all 272 NFL games this year, and yes, I went through every single one. It didn't take me that long. No, there are websites that allow you to go through all of that. As I went through every single game, I just realized Buffalo, and well, let's get into it now. Buffalo and Baltimore are not going to be too far behind Kansas City. So Kansas City is going to have to use their starters in that week 18 game in Vegas when they visit the Raiders. Which, as you guys see now, this is obviously my prediction for the upcoming season, and maybe, hopefully you guys can see that. I don't know how it looks on your guys' screen, if it's too small or what, but just looking across the board here, I've got the Chiefs with the number 1 seed, Eagles with the number 1 seed. I know more of you guys care about the AFC side. Let me just get the NFC out of the way. Stafford, I know there's been a lot of talk about his injury. It appears that he's going to play. There's all this talk that he might not play much this year, but he's set to play. Detroit, I know everyone is talking about the losses of their coordinators. You still have Dan Campbell. You still have a lot of good players on that defense. Aiden Hutchinson's coming back. I think this is going to be a good year for Detroit. And in fact, I think they win the NFC this year. That's my prediction, as you can see on the bottom of your screen there. I think Tampa Bay will win that division. That might be the easiest division in all of football right now. Washington is going to have a really good season. Green Bay is going to have a really good season. These are two teams, Washington and Green Bay. They're going to have 12 wins this year by my prediction. And if they were in any other division, there'd be a really good chance that they could win, because they're going to have double-digit wins. They're going to have a lot of wins this year. So I think these are two teams that can maybe even be sneaky or do something on the road in these playoff games. Now let's go to the, oh, by the way, the Cardinals, number 7. This is the one I got a lot of pushback. Listen, I like Kyler Murray and his backstory and all of that. I know he hasn't shown any of that on the field much. Arizona has a really easy schedule. Like if you're an NFL fan and you're looking through the schedules of all 32 teams, you would want Arizona's schedule. And every year we do see this where a team takes advantage of an easy schedule. And I think Arizona has that this year. Cincinnati has that this year. But again, there's still some concern with that team. The Patriots definitely have an easy schedule this year. I think the Cardinals and the Patriots, those are two teams who are going to take advantage of their easy schedules this year. Now let's switch over to the AFC side. I have the Chiefs 1, Bills right behind them, followed by the Ravens. I have the Texans with the 4 seed, obviously winning the South, which is going to be similar to the NFC South. Both the NFC South and the AFC South, I think, are going to be the easiest divisions in all of football. Denver, I think, is going to have a really good season this year. They're going to be on Kansas City's tail. So I think Denver is going to be a team that does really well, and I think they'll get the first wild card spot. New England, I think they're on their way to turning things around under Mike Vrabel. I'm a huge fan of Mike Vrabel. I really am. I think Tennessee is going to regret firing him. I'm sorry, but you gave him like the worst quarterback possible, hence why you just drafted Cam Ward. But I really do think New England's going to be moving in the right direction. I think Drake May is going to show a little bit of improvement. I think in terms of a potential postseason run, that's going to have to wait for New England, but they are moving in the right direction with Mike Vrabel. The big wild card is, of course, I mentioned Cincinnati. You just don't know with their defense. I know they have Trey Hendrickson, but still, even Trey Hendrickson leading the league in sacks last year was far from enough. That defense needs a lot of help, and they didn't do much in the offseason to help that defense. Now, if Shamar Stewart and Trey Hendrickson both play very well, and I know Trey Hendrickson will Shamar Stewart, that remains to be seen. If they do, I think that's going to help the defense a lot. They'll still be, in the bottom half, but they won't be worst or second worst. Now, offensively, you have obviously Joe Burrow. You have the wide receivers, the Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Yoshi Voss. That's a great trio. But outside of that, like, who on this Cincinnati team can you rely on? That's what I just wonder with that Bengals football team. I saw some predictions. Obviously, a lot of people are giving their predictions today coming back from Labor Day weekend. A lot of people in the media have Cincinnati missing the playoffs. I don't think that's an absurd prediction. They finished 9-8 2 years in a row. One of them with Joe Burrow playing a full season, and the other one where Joe Burrow played half a season. And the backup Jake Browning actually had similar numbers to Joe Burrow. So it's not an absurd prediction. And listen, I went through their schedule like I did all the otother teams, and I have them 9-8 like they did the last 2 years. That defense has not earned anyone's trust. That offensive line has not earned anyone's trust yet. Show us that you're better than that. Cincinnati's a team that can make it all the way to the Super Bowl. Listen, they've got the the possibility, the potential to go out and beat Kansas City again in Arrowhead. But you've got to be a much better football team than that. Defensively, they've just regressed and gotten worse, and they haven't really shown any improvement. The teams are not going to have a difficult time running the ball on Cincinnati. If you watch, this is one of the, I've told you my rule, how I judge in the preseason. I think you can judge kickers and punters fine. If someone's dropping passes in the preseason, you can judge that easily. If you have starters who are getting beat by backups, that I'm definitely judging. And Philadelphia's backups dominated the Bengals in a preseason game this year. That was not a good look for that Cincinnati defense. That's an indication that that's going to be a long season for the defense. So unless Jamar Stewart plays just like Trey Hendrickson, it's going to be a very long year for that defense. But those are my 14 teams. I think they'll win enough games to still make it into the playoffs. So that leads me to my postseason bracket here. This got a lot of attention. I love all the people who are like, oh, you picked the Chiefs because you're a Chiefs fan. Yeah, as if picking the Chiefs is some absurd prediction. Sorry that they've won 3 Super Bowls in the last 5 years. My bad. 6 years, I guess. Now, I mean, come on. I think Buffalo's offense is going to give Cincinnati too many problems. Baltimore is going to be too much for New England to handle. Denver will go on the road and beat Houston. The Rams will take care of the Cardinals. Lions will take care of the Packers. And I think Washington goes on the road in Tampa and they'll win. So you have the 3 and 2 seeds playing each other on both conferences, and then the 5 and 1 seeds playing each other in both conferences. And I've got it the same way. 3 versus 1 on the AFC side, 3 versus 1 on the NFC side. But in the Super Bowl, a little different. I think it'll be the number 1 seeded Chiefs facing the number 3 seeded Lions. And I have the Chiefs winning it all, winning Super Bowl 60, bouncing back from last year's embarrassment. Last slide here. These are my awards predictions here. I think Patrick Mahomes will win MVP. We've gone over that, so I'm not going to go into detail with it. I also went into detail with Mike Vrabel and the type of turnaround I think New England's going to have. I think Vrabel, I'm a fan of the guy. And I'll tell you this right now. If I had to switch Andy Reid for any other coach, which I wouldn't, but I guess because of his age, if I had to switch him for someone else, I would want Mike Vrabel. I know he's more of a far more defensive guy than an offensive guy. So I guess there would be some concerns as to what the offense would look like. But man, Vrabel alongside Spags coaching together, that's a dream coaching staff right there. Offensive player of the year, I think Jamar Chase. It was either Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson. 2 LSU guys who won a national championship together. And in my opinion, the 2 best wide receivers in the league right now. Some people say Jamar, some people say Jefferson. I'm not going to push back either way. I think it's one of those 1A, 1B type of things. But I'm going to go with Jamar Chase winning Offensive Player of the Year, especially coming off the Triple Crown season. Defensive Player of the Year, I have it as Micah Parsons. There's a little bit of news with him coming out. So obviously this came out before the news. Offensive Rookie of the Year, I'm going Travis Hunter. I'm excited to see what he's going to do. I think Abdul Carter will be the best defensive rookie this year. Aiden Hutchinson, I think I kind of alluded to this, him coming back for the Lions. I think he'll win Comeback Player of the Year. And the newest award, the Offensive Line Protector of the Year, the best offensive lineman, essentially. Lane, I think this is going to go. Here's the thing with offensive linemen. No one in the media truly knows. Like, if you asked the 10 best analysts in football without doing any research, like if you ask them just face to face, give me the 5 best left tackles, 5 best left guards, 5 best centers, right guards, and right tackles, could they give you that list? I don't know if they could. I think this award is going to have some name recognition to go with it. And listen, Lane Johnson's a really popular name. He's great also, don't get me wrong. But I do think Lane Johnson, I think Creed Humphrey will be in the mix. I think Trey Smith will be in the mix. Trent Williams as well. Guys who are very well known in the league right now. I think those are the guys who are going to be with a serious shot at winning the award. So I'm going to bet my money on Lane Johnson to be the first ever Protector Player of the Year winner. So that is my prediction for the 2025 to 2026 NFL season. It's going to be an accurate prediction, guys. I'll be the first one to ever have everything go perfectly as predicted, right? Because that's exactly how everything goes. Couple news and notes here before we sign off. Trent McDuffie has been in the news a lot lately. He had a press conference earlier this weekend, and he was asked about the contract negotiations, which every time McDuffie is on the mic, he gets asked about the contract deal. Listen, the Chiefs paid a lot of guys this offseason. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say the Chiefs will never let McDuffie go. Never say never, because we've seen the Chiefs move on from key players for different reasons, more so salary cap reasons. So it's not a 100% guarantee that Trent McDuffie will stay in Kansas City long term. This is his fourth season. He is locked down with the fifth-year option, so he's going to be around for at least 2 more seasons, hopefully. But because of his answer he gave, a lot of the media have kind of gone crazy with this, saying that, oh, Trent McDuffie and the Chiefs, they're not expected to agree to a deal before Brazil, and this could, would it be a wedge? Would it be a distraction? People are already driving that narrative. First of all, I think Trent McDuffie, it is a roll of the dice here. But I think Trent McDuffie and his agent see a benefit in waiting 1 more year. Because the market for every position group is going to go up, including the cornerback position, which that's a market that's certainly going up recently. So McDuffie would actually benefit from waiting a year. Now, if he gets injured, that could be a problem. He's definitely going to have to ball out during the 5th year under the 5th-year option so he can try to get the contract he wants. Now, and I said this, I think the Chiefs and McDuffie are going to agree to a deal. When? I don't know when. I am willing to bet it happens within the next 365 days. Now, here's where I got a lot of pushback. A lot of you guys were telling me that the Chiefs don't pay cornerbacks. And specifically the name that a lot of you guys threw out there, and I'm shocked by this. A lot of you guys pushed back with L'Jarius Sneed. Guys, I'm a big fan of Sneed as much as the next guy. Especially that 2023 season he had and got disrespected with no Pro Bowl or All Pros. I'm a big fan of Sneed, but the guy missed a lot of practice last year, or I'm sorry, in 2023 because of the shoulder injury. And if you look at L'Jarius Sneed when they traded him to Tennessee, right now he's listed as questionable on an unofficial injury report. But last year, L'Jarius Sneed did not play much. He only played 5 games last year, and he looked great in those 5 games. Dude, he shut down Tyreek Hill in that Monday Night Football game. What did Tyreek Hill have in that one? He shut down Tyreek Hill in that cold playoff game against the Dolphins. And in the Monday Night Football game, Tyreek Hill just had 4 catches for 23 yards. That is not a Tyreek Hill-esque stat. I mean, Sneed is a beast at the cornerback position. However, the guy misses a lot of games because of injuries. The Chiefs knew what they were doing when they traded him. So for you guys to push back and say, oh, well, the Chiefs didn't pay Sneed. Yeah, because number one, Sneed has been dealing with a lot of injuries during his time in Kansas City. He missed some time his rookie year, which he could have won Defensive Rookie of the Year if he was healthy. But even in the games that he did play, looked really, really good, was one of the better defensive rookies that year. And then 2023, I don't think he missed any games in 23, but he missed a lot of practice that year because of a shoulder injury. And last year, he only played 5 games. And I still got the pushback from one commenter. Yeah, but a duo with Snead and McDuffie, that sounds great, but it's not a duo if a guy is missing a lot of time, which Snead did last year. So every situation is different. I know a lot of you guys mentioned Kendall Fuller and Charvarius Ward. Charvarius Ward was not a top tier cornerback in Kansas City. He was a better cornerback in San Francisco, which, I wish we saw that more from Ward in Kansas City, but we didn't. But I think McDuffie and the Chiefs will get a deal done. McDuffie's a better cornerback than all of the other cornerbacks we just talked about and mentioned. The Chiefs will get a deal done. It's just not going to be right now, more likely than not. But trust me, they'll get something done at some point within the next year. Micah Parsons recently traded to the Green Bay Packers. Man, that feels so weird. I know we get trades and all that, but it feels weird to say Micah Parsons is not a Dallas Cowboy, because I thought they were going to make that work. But Micah Parsons, he is dealing with an injury, and this was brought up with in his last days with the Cowboys, but it didn't get as much attention. But now in Green Bay, in his first week with the Packers, there's all this talk about a back injury and whether or not this may sideline him. It appears he's going to play. He got the epidural injection. Or I'm sorry, he may need the epidural injection. But that's where we're at. Here's my question. Did the Packers know about this? And this is tongue in cheek here, because if they didn't, this trade would have been revoked and vetoed, because if there is an injury concern, that needs to be made clear by the teams. But that doesn't appear like that's the case. It appears the Packers were aware. Listen, I'm not one to defend Jerry Jones, but maybe Jerry knew what he was doing when he was trading Micah Parsons. I don't know. Just seems like maybe the Cowboys getting 2 first-round picks and a good defensive tackle from the Packers, maybe that doesn't look so bad after all. Now, I'm not going to judge a trade right now because no games have happened yet. But you want to know how trades are judged in terms of how people determine the winner and the loser of a trade. Obviously, which team wins more, but also availability, like the L'Jarius Sneed one. And I kind of wonder if this is one of those moves where maybe Green Bay is going to regret it. I don't know. That's a concern for me right off the bat. The NFL Top 100 list, they revealed the top 10 recently. They had a very interesting way of wanting to reveal the entire list. They would reveal, I think, 2 a day, something along those lines. It was a very slow process. But they revealed the top 10 last night. Let me just read you 10 through 1. So at number 10 is cornerback Patrick Surtain II. Number 9 is Justin Jefferson. 8 is Myles Garrett, the highest ranked, I should say, defensive player. 7 is Derrick Henry. 6 is Joe Burrow. 5 is Patrick Mahomes. 4 is Jamar Chase. 3 is Josh Allen. 2 is Lamar. 1 is Saquon Barkley. I do agree, Saquon Barkley. Listen, I've said this for a long time. If I had an MVP vote, which I don't, because I'm not a journalist, I don't cover the sport. But if I had an MVP vote, my vote would have gone to Saquon Barkley. He was the best player in football last year. The fact that he didn't win MVP and it's a quarterback-driven league, okay, whatever. But that's who would have gotten my vote. So I'm glad to see Saquon was ranked number 1. I thought Mahomes would have been a little lower. But by the way, let me back up a bit. One thing to keep in mind with these lists here, it is to my understanding that they vote on this somewhere around November. To my understanding. I could be wrong on that, but that's usually when they vote. And here's another thing. they don't reveal the ballots of all these players. So I remember JJ Watt once played 2 or 3 games and he was ranked in the top 100 list. And he even called out the list. He's like, how? He only played a couple of games. I remember the year Aaron Rodgers suffered that Achilles injury. He was ranked 96th. Now, again, this is not a career accomplishment list. This is specifically based on how you did from the previous season. Now, is everyone going to the voters on this are the players, just to keep in mind. Are all the players going to vote that way? Probably not. Now, given where we were in November, Saquon definitely should have been number one, as he is. Joe Burrow should have been higher. Lamar and Allen being in the top 3, no issues with that. Jamar Chase being in the top 5, no issues with that. I'll be completely honest with you guys. I think Patrick Mahomes was going to be lower than this. I mean, listen, let's be honest here. You guys know I'm always going to keep it 100 with you guys. Mahomes at the midway point of the season had a lot of interceptions. And that's usually around the time when they vote for this. Now, I used to write for Bleacher Report. Some of you guys know that. And I remember my editor at Bleacher Report, whenever I would put together like a ranking list of any kind, my editor would tell me, he would say, you know, it'd be a really good idea if you mix the order here because you'll get more reactions. I'm like, no, I'm not going to change my rankings, which don't reflect my actual opinions, just to draw a reaction. I think you can draw a reaction if you have genuine opinion. Now, there are some people like me who think outside the box, so maybe your opinions will naturally be different than others, not just to be different, but you look at things full picture and outside the box. Some people in the media do that, some don't. My point is, and we've seen this in years past, and I've said this before about the top 100 lists, because they don't show all the ballots. They can mix around some of the players and the orders that they're in, because assuming they did vote in early to mid-November, there's no way to justify that Mahomes was better than Burrow last year. I know it's just by 1 spot, but there's no way Burrow should not have been outside the top 5. This guy was leading the league in touchdown passes and passing yards all year long. Okay, got off to a little slow start, but they picked it up pretty quickly after that. So, Joe Burrow being behind Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen also? I don't know. Listen, I know there's this big deal about the playoffs being made, but at the time, to my understanding, to when this voting took place, the playoffs hadn't even started yet. So now MVP race, that's different because the AP voters, they vote on that the day after the regular season ends. So by then, you already know who's in the playoffs and who isn't. Jeremy says Joe Burrow was the MVP. Look, if the Bengals make the playoffs, I think Burrow takes every single first place vote. Was statistically speaking, who were the best players last year? Burrow and Jamar Chase. The problem is they didn't make it to the playoffs, and I'm not saying it's their fault, though I will say I think Burrow has to take some responsibility with how poor he played in some close situation games down the stretch. But you can't tell me statistically that Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen were the better players, because MVP came down to those 2 players right there. So listen, the only player I would put above Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow is Saquon Barkley. No question about it. I mean, Saquon Barkley did something at the running back position that you hardly see. I mean, him and Derrick Henry both had great seasons, and Derrick Henry's on the top 10. But I'm just saying, man, I think the NFL Network, which is the outlet that releases this list, I think they intentionally reorder some of this just to get people like you and I, to their credit, I've been talking about it for a few minutes now. That's the That's the kind of thing that you see in the media. And like I said, I mean, I've been told by my editors at Bleacher Report, hey, mix things up to get a reaction. Like, no, I can get a reaction from people by giving my honest opinion on things. Because I've heard this in the media, and I'm not going to name names, but there are people in the media who will do power rankings or any kind of lists, and the order will be weird. And then next thing you know, you react to it on social media, and boom, there you go. It definitely gets a reaction from people. That's my opinion about the top 100 list. I think they got the right number one guy, but the other part of the top 5, I do not agree with. If we're just being completely honest, just based on last year, Mahomes was not a top 5 player last year. Let's be honest. Listen, I love Mahomes. You love Mahomes. We all do. But he was not a top 5 player last year. Just plain and simple. Let's see here. There was something else I wanted to get into. Okay, I do want to talk a little bit of college football because everyone is all over Archie Manning and that very poor outing he had against Ohio State's defense, which was led by former Patriots defensive coordinator Matt Patricia. Phenomenal coaching from Matt Patricia. Listen, it's just one game. And I understand in football, there aren't a lot of games to play already. So when you play one game and then when you play your second game, you're already an eighth into the season. I get that. But let's slow it down a little bit with Archie Manning. Do I think there was some pressure on the kid too because of all the offseason hype that he was attracting this offseason? Yeah, I do. Not that it's an excuse, but I think that played a role. But let's slow it down on, because the funniest meme I saw, you guys all know the Bush family in politics. You have H.W. Bush and W. Bush, both who were presidents. And then you have Jeb Bush, who is trying to, become a president, but is having a difficult time making a name for himself. I'm already seeing the people out there comparing Archie Manning to Jeb Bush. Listen, that's funny. I'm not going to lie. That's actually pretty creative and funny. But let's slow down a little bit because I think people are jumping the gun here. Archie Manning will get better. That was a tough defense. And again, I think he still had to show up in that game, which he didn't. A lot of passes he would have loved to have back in that one. Now, another college football story that everyone is talking about is Bill Belichick and his debut with UNC. The first 5 minutes of that game looked marvelous for North Carolina. And everyone on social media was anointing Belichick as this genius and how great. Yeah, Jeb, I mean, come on, it is funny. Everyone was talking about how Belichick is going to have a great year with North Carolina. I even saw Maggie Gray from Infinity Sports Radio. She tweeted, NFL teams have some explanations to give as to why they passed on Belichick. Colin Cowherd anointed him as a GOAT. Skip Bayless anointed him as the GOAT. Then after, and I said this on Facebook, I didn't crown him as the GOAT coach, but I did say that their opening drive was damn near perfect. That's all I said. After that damn near perfect opening drive, it was damn near awful. I mean, nothing went North Carolina's way in that game. Michael Jordan was there. Randy Moss was there next to his Belichick's girlfriend, Jordan. Roy Williams. I mean, you had Lawrence Taylor. You had the who's who of Tar Heels there. And it was so bad that they put the Jordan crying meme on Michael Jordan's face at that game. That's how embarrassing of a game that was. 48 points allowed, the most by a Bill Belichick coach team ever. Ever. First of all, it's just one game. However, here's why the media is not wasting an opportunity to jump on Belichick. Everybody knows what was the biggest story in college football this offseason. It was Archie Manning, who could be the number one pick of the draft, and Bill Belichick. Those were the top two stories this offseason in college football. The Belichick one, boy, I don't know if there was ever a college football program that dealt with as much drama as Belichick in North Carolina did, because of the interview he did on CBS and what that turned into, the leaked emails. I mean, the relationship with Belichick's girlfriend, Jordan Hudson, that took it. And by the way, there's a clip out there of Jordan and Bill chatting before the game. And a lot of people are talking about how they've never seen the girlfriend or wife of a coach on the field. Listen, I've seen Tammy Reed, Andy Reid's wife, on the sidelines with the owners, with the Hunt family, but she's not out there, chatting with Andy Reid. She's respecting his space, knowing he's got a coach. I remember before a spring game this year for North Carolina, he was out there chatting with Belichick, and the way she dressed too, it's like she was getting ready to go to like a Vegas nightclub. The way she was all dressed up for it. I mean, listen, wear whatever you want, I don't care, but I think here's my point with Jordan Hudson, because she does not like the media coverage that's out there, or that was out there in the offseason. And she had Bill go out there and put out all of her fires for her. There's all these rumors about how Hard Knocks was going to do North Carolina, but Jordan Hudson was basically applying all of these restrictions. This was not a good year for North Carolina's program because of Jordan Hudson. And what did I tell you guys in the offseason? I said, look, I know they're getting a lot of bad rep right now, but if you're North Carolina, and specifically Bill Belichick, how do you erase that entire narrative about Jordan, the attention, and the fact that they've got this massive gap in their relationship? How do you shut that down? By winning. Not only did they lose, they lost bad. And because there was this Belichick and Hudson versus the media in the offseason, well, guess what? The media is not going to hold back. And they sure as hell had fun today recapping that game. Look, I don't know realistically what is the ideal end game for Belichick here, football-wise. Relationship-wise, that's his business. I mean, technically nothing illegal is happening. It's weird. It's creepy. But as far as we know, they met when she was 18 or 19. So that, in the eyes of the law, that's all legal. But I'm already seeing people say, oh, Bill Belichick's playbook is him, lifting her up in the air on the beach. That video that went viral. Let me just say this about Jordan, because what is she? She's 24 years old, I think. Think of 24-year-olds today. 24-year-olds are on the internet a lot. And that's fine. I'm not saying that's an issue. That's just the age we're in. I'm not going to be that boomer that says, well, back in my day when we had fire and wood and no Wi-Fi. I mean, come on. Times change. But I think when you're a 24-year-old and you are thrusted into that public sphere, oh boy, I don't think she ever asked for this. Is it benefiting her? Yeah, I think to an extent it's certainly benefiting her. Listen, what's that saying? There's no such thing as bad publicity. So you can always find a way to turn that into an advantage. Listen, I think Brittany Mahomes had some bad publicity with some of the things she had on social media. I'm not saying she did anything awful or terrible, but she got a lot of negative attention outside of Kansas and even in Kansas City, honestly. But what did she do? She took advantage of that. Just go look at her Instagram. The amount of, sponsorships she's posting online. I'm sure she's making a lot of money from online sponsorships. And it's all thanks to her haters who give her all of that attention. Now, as far as Jordan goes, boy, she better just stay out of the limelight as much as she can. Because I think she has to bear some of the responsibility with North Carolina getting the bad rep right now, even though she had nothing to do with the game directly. But she kind of just forced herself into the public image. And I think you have to wear that. So listen, if North Carolina can turn it around, great. Everything I just talked about for the last 10 minutes won't even matter. But if the struggles continue with North Carolina, guess what? Every single media outlet is going to ask, is Jordan Hudson part of the problem at North Carolina? It's not going to be a fair question, but it will be asked by every single media outlet. ESPN, Fox Sports, every single local publication in North Carolina, they're all going to ask it in Chapel Hill. Best of luck. Hopefully she knows what she's doing. Am I doing a podcast on Thursday before the game? No. We're not doing a Red Friday Q&A live chat this week. We will do a podcast tomorrow. Tomorrow's our last podcast of the week. So for those of you who came in late, we are going to do a Chiefs Zone podcast tomorrow in less than 23 hours. And we'll break down the game between the Chiefs and the Chargers. I'll give you guys my score prediction for that. Spoiler alert, Carl Cheffers is the referee for that one. I'm sure you're all overjoyed with that piece of news. And I'll give you guys my picks, some primetime picks for the upcoming week. So a lot of things to look forward to on tomorrow's podcast. Friday, there will not be a Q&A live chat because we have a game on Friday. So we're not going to have time to do that. And as far as Friday's schedule goes, we'll do a pregame live chat exactly 4 hours before kickoff. I think the Chiefs, let me just get this exactly, because I don't know exactly what time their game is. I believe 7:20. No, 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock is when the Chiefs and Chargers game kicks off. For those who don't know, it'll be available locally on Channel 41, everywhere else on YouTube. I think it might be available on YouTube, not YouTube TV. Just youtube.com, the free website, the free video website there. But 4 hours before kickoff at exactly 3 o'clock, we will do the pregame live chat. So join me for that. We'll have our quick halftime live stream. And then after the game, Friday night, we will have the Chiefs Zone podcast live video calls for you guys to call in. I'll have the link for you guys. Send me a video chat. We'll chat it up after the game, almost like a radio show. Call in and we will have fun doing that. So that is what you have to look forward to this weekend for the Chiefs Zone No Red Friday Q&A live chat. My name is Farzin Vasugian. Thank you all for joining me for this episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. If you guys enjoyed this podcast, please share the link with your friends. Let your friends know. Continue to share all the social media content. Thank you for all of you who've been doing that the last 48 hours. It has been bonkers off the chart. Yes, bonkers off the chart. That's how crazy it's been. So I appreciate all of you who have been doing that. Please continue to do that because that is how our content and the algorithm or the podcast gets pushed out into the algorithm, and more of the non-followers will discover us and follow us, and that's how we grow. So thank you for doing that. Please continue to do that. Otherwise, I will talk to you all tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central Time. I'm Farzin Vasugian. Have a good night.